the minute that your face is on the wrong side of a few headlines or on the wrong side of a product launch or the wrong side of whatever, the business takes a hit because it's so synonymous with you. So when you're the face and you end up in a scandal or you end up in a situation or you end up in a lawsuit or whatever the case may be, like there's a downside to this, obviously, right? But it's a high upside for you personally and your business. When things are going right, shit is amazing. But when it's going wrong, it can completely derail the business. So I really want to talk more so to both sides of that. I see major advantages to being the face. I see significant advantages actually. Like, I mean, I've seen the high upside of people being like, oh yeah, that's Nick's thing, that's Tiffany's thing, that's Gary's thing, that's Alita's thing. But I think there's also a lot of advantages to being a little less in the spotlight where the business can flourish. And I mean, I'm sure we know, and I know at some point somebody from the audience or somebody on the stage, we're gonna say, well, white people, they don't be, and they do. That's not true, but we do know that there are some businesses and we don't know who the hell the owners are, right? Or we're not familiar just because they're not in the spaces that we frequent. So I know that's gonna come up of to why we don't know who Mr. Johnson and Johnson is. We don't know who Mr. Whatever. Like it'll come up, and that's cool. And I think that there's some advantages to that as well. But I want to speak to more so of that because right now, what I'm seeing with Uncle Nearest in particular, and with Slutty Vegan when it comes to Pinky, as they are in the headlines, everybody's starting to question the business of what they do. And I think in a lot of ways they're separate. And maybe I'm wrong, but that's kind of how I want to kind of lay out the conversation. And I'm gonna kind of throw it to my stage. Pros and cons, preferences. And Isaac, I would love to hear from you because I think that you're very vocal when it comes to fan base, and you are the face of what this is. So I've seen it. Me and you've had conversations about it. We've joked about it. That when you come up on when fan base is being discussed, they're not really discussing fan base per se. They're discussing you. So you tell me, and I can start with you. Or I can jump to somebody else. Pros, cons, feelings of how to play that if you want to market yourself over your business. Or not. Isaac might be on the way. I'm gonna throw it to one of y'all though while we waiting on Isaac because I definitely want to hear his opinion. Y'all go for it. Oh, it looked like Gary was gonna say something. Nope.
Oh, nobody's on talk. All right. So,
Go for it.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those 50-50 things because there is truth to what you're saying that public perception, it can be, it's like one of those things where the thing we utilize to build you up, we can take you down with. And we've seen it happen time after time, not with just black people, with all people. I think it's an American thing as well. Americans big on celebrity. I remember 50 Cent saying, America makes people, not products. America makes people, not products. And then it made me think about Sylvester Stallone. People started to believe he was a real boxer, even though Floyd Mayweather started saying, you think Floyd would have beat Rocky? I said, Rocky was an actor. What do you mean? So saying that America has the ability to give you a certain level of stardom and then attack you with that same level of stardom. So yes, that can be detrimental to the business, but then it depends on how big the business is, how large it is, because even when Steve Jobs went down and they kicked him out, Apple survived. Granted, they had to eventually bring him back, but Apple survived. But I think it's more of a scale thing and it's more of the nature of what someone did type of thing. Because if the business is big enough, you didn't do anything crazy, like some categories we don't have to mention in here, then the business can be fine. But one of those things, as far as attacking one celebrity, that's what America does. America makes celebrities. America is not really in the business of making products. America is in the business of fame. So then the question is, my wife was saying, she's listening too, Nick. She's saying that some people don't have the temperament for it. This is why you hear a lot of people say, oh, wealth is quiet. I always say, well, you haven't been around wealth. because I don't know where you guys got this statement from. Yeah, so I don't know where you guys got this damn statement from. Like all the wealthy people I know, I'm talking about wealth, six, seven generations. They're super loud. They want every tall building with their last name on the front of the building. It just then it becomes a circumstance like who's saying that? It's probably a person that's saying it that don't know a lot of the names of the people that own a lot of stuff. But for the white guy that know the other white guy, that's the private equity owner, they're not gonna say his wealth is quiet because they know the name. Like, no, his name is right there. Why did he need his name on this 40-story building? So when we drive on the freeway, we can see his whole family's name. That's not quiet.
At
So
all.
yeah. So the idea of fame is what we're really talking about. Although, we're utilizing a business term, it's always going to be a tricky thing in America, which is why I'm giving a 50-50 answer. I'm going
Yeah.
on mute.
But is it worth it? I think being the figurehead, being the face, I think you're able to grow faster as a business, or at least as I've seen. I think it allows you to grow faster. But to maybe to Duran's point, I think like when something goes wrong and you don't know who runs the thing, right? I think it's harder to kill a business when you don't attach it to a person, right? Like, I'm wishing I'm looking around my house trying to like look at something and just think of some anonymous product I have here in the house. But when you don't know Mr. Samsung or you don't know Mr. Whoever, you know what I'm saying, Whirlpool, and there's an issue with a Whirlpool stove or refrigerator or something like that, the products
Every time
tend to
I hear
fix themselves.
Whirlpool, Nick, I just think about the lawsuit we went through with Whirlpool.
Oh
Like
shit.
the guy, oh yeah, we eventually came out on top, but yeah, just every time I hear Whirlpool, I'm like, damn, that's crazy they came after us. But yeah, no, because they own Yummy, Yummly. So they had a problem with Yummy. So we went through a whole little battle with Whirlpool. They eventually shut Yummy down. Was the recipe shop, ironically, but we went through a whole thing with that company, man. But
Oh
yeah,
shit.
Nick, I get it. But sometimes you need somebody to be the face for the thing to actually work. And that goes back to that America thing. Remember the Verizon guy? Wait, hello, are we? I forgot what they would say. Are we there yet? Oh, can you hear me
Can
now?
you hear me
Whatever
now?
that. Yeah, can you hear me now? The Verizon guy. Then he got in trouble, and they swapped him out for another guy. The Sprint had a guy. Apple had a guy back in the day. Microsoft had a guy. Apartments.com had the one guy that got the actor's name. I just think it's an American thing where even if you don't want to be the thing and you're the creator or the founder, they found somebody to be the thing. When the banks go down, it's always that new CEO that have to go on Capitol Hill and get cursed out by the senators and take the hit. So I think it's a part of the American fabric. Somebody has to be the thing. Now I would say this. I was thinking about it when you first started talking in the beginning. We utilize a lot of examples like Coke and Procter and Gamble. These companies are 200-300 years old. We weren't there when they had the popular person that was the thing for it. Like back in the day, they had a person that was the thing. John D. Rockefeller, what was the thing? So today we can say you don't know who's in charge of Coke. Well, 200 years ago, they knew who was in charge of Coke. Like they knew
Mm,
John Pierpont Morgan. That's his name, John Pierpont Morgan, J.P. Morgan. He
right.
was he was. You can go back and look at the newspapers. They hated this guy. They say he caused the Great Depression with crashing the banks. So, you know, I'm with you on it. That's why I said I'm 50-50 on it. I don't have a hard stance because it's a tricky dance, but America's always going to find a way to make a person a thing so they can actually control the thing. But it is some merit to what you're saying. If you keep a low profile as much as you can and the business is so widespread, then it's hard for them to actually come after the business holistically. I'm going on mute.
I'm with it. I know Gary. I think.
Well,
Oh, go ahead,
I'm
Jermaine.
the face of my brand reluctantly. I'm the face of my brand reluctantly. Nick, if you remember, like in the beginning, I had rappers that was popping at the time, kind of pushing my brand, and a lot of them got in trouble. So I had to pivot. And the one that was left was me. So I'm like, it's my brand. I'll be the face reluctantly. I prefer to be the background, be the fly on the wall, be in the room, and don't nobody know that I'm the one whose brand they're enjoying, and just kind of float like that. But I had to reluctantly put myself in front of it because if somebody gonna get in trouble and tank it, I'd rather be me than anybody else. So I had to do that. But when I was using the rappers and stuff, they was getting in trouble. So it
Yeah.
was like you said, 50-50, man. Like you gotta kind of toe that line because I'm going on you. I can ramble.
I think at
But
this point in time,
reluctantly,
you
I'm gonna
gotta
face
know.
mine. I don't
Sorry,
want to be.
Oh, oh,
my bad, Jermaine. I thought you stopped.
oh, go for it, Scare.
I think at this point in time, like you have to know that like there's gonna be a fall person. I think America loves the come up story. Oh my God, this is a new company and they're doing great and we want to see them win. And then when they get too high to America's high point, whatever they want it to be, then all of a sudden you're the bad guy. So I think you have to know and you have to put those parameters in place, just like the Target guy, like the CEO quote unquote stepped down, but he's still very much in leadership. Right. They just needed a figurehead or somebody to show that, like, oh yeah, we hear what y'all saying, but they really don't hear what you're saying because the guy is still very much in leadership position.
I'm with you on that, and I feel like I say, there's advantages and disadvantages to it, right? Like like I said, when we know who ran, or I wouldn't say we ran because we didn't know the owners per se, right? But like Puff became the face of Ciroc. Ciroc was working, and it started to take a decline for sure. Because I mean, I can't tell you the last time I had a bottle of Ciroc or anything, but that used to be the popular club drink, right? But as Puff's popularity declined, or kind of, and his popularity was really largely dependent on kind of what records he was selling, what video he was in, what he was kind of doing on the outside. It had nothing necessarily to do with the liquor, but the popularity of the liquor was as high as Puff was. And I think being the face of something, especially when it's working, allows you to go do the next thing, right? Because now, like, perfect example, and we're not even talking about ownership at this point, but the CEO of Red Lobster, as Red Lobster has started to increase profits and the sales and the revenue is going up, I think he's a hot name right now that if you have a business in decline, you might want to go tap him, right? Because his face has now become like, we know who he is now. Like, we know his name, we've seen the picture, we've seen him, we've watched the commercials, we've seen the interviews. Like, he is now a thing. So there is a true advantage to having your face out there as the person who you should call if your business is declining. You better make sure you hit him. Um, when things are successful, having your face on it, fantastic. When it ain't, having your face on it, worst thing probably in the world.
And then just to
What
add,
did they say in Batman about living long enough to see yourself become the villain?
Exactly.
So Nick,
1000%.
and just to pivot on off of that real quick, because at the end of the day, it is great if who you are and what you're doing naturally intersects. You know what I'm saying? Because like you said, you have a personal driver that as long as you can go, it can go as well. But for me, I've noticed that it becomes a problem if you want to slow down personally, or if you want to pivot personally, or if you need to pivot personally. Like like business and commerce doesn't necessarily allow you room to do that, to slow down and or pivot at any point. So self-care is never really a part of it. And sometimes if you do try to pivot and slow down, or just downshift with regards to, looking out for yourself, like, hey, I don't like, I don't want to rap, or I don't want to be an artist because I want to raise my daughter until she's 10. Like, depending on who you're dealing with, they may or may not, you know, respect and support.
so with the Puff example, in my assessment, Puff didn't have something that was large scaled enough to go beyond his name. Even when you think about Ciroc, Ciroc wasn't big before Puff. Puff actually made Ciroc big. So when Puff stepped away, even before the trouble happened, people was like, oh, I don't really want to deal with the Ciroc. If Pharrell get in trouble tomorrow, people are not stopping wearing Louis Vuitton because Louis is massively scaled, as big as Pharrell name is. Because Louis is at such scale beyond any person. Even the most famous person can't take Louis down. Dare I say Beyonce? I would love to see that beta test. But with Pharrell, he can leave tomorrow. They'll still be buying Louis. Maybe the sales take a little dip for a while, but they'll rebound. They'll place another face there. Whereas with Puff, Bad Boy wasn't at scale like that. Bad Boy didn't have a number one rock artist, number one country artist, number one rapper, number one R&B artist. In fact, as you all know, they were really stubborn about not going through multiple genres, which historically I find ironic, Nick, because we invented every genre. But they were just straight R&B, hip hop. So Bad Boy wasn't as scaled enough to go beyond Puff's name. It wasn't Bad Boy Japan, Bad Boy China, and Ciroc definitely wasn't. So I can understand how Puff brands would go down because he was bigger than his brands. But let that happen with Pharrell tomorrow with Louis. Louis fine. I'm going
So
on mute.
so let's stay with the fashion example. And it's 10:30. So Gary, I want to start bringing up people from the audience. So if you have a question or comment you want to add to the conversation, please raise your hand, and Gary will get you up here on the stage so you can add to the today's topic. But I want to stay in the fashion world, and somebody who is way more fashion savvy than me, especially when it comes to designer. Y'all chime in because you mentioned Louis Vuitton. Now I will tell you that and maybe I'm tripping and maybe I'm having a brain fart, but I don't recall knowing, like, I know who the Versace people are. I know that I know the people or the few people that are attached to the Versace name, right? There's been movies made about it. Um, there's the Versace mansion down in Miami. Like, I kind of have an attachment to a person when it comes to Versace. I don't have that same attachment per se when it comes to Louis Vuitton. I don't know who Mr. Balenciaga is. I don't know who Mr. Prada is. I don't know who the fuck these people are. But there are some of those names that are big time designer names that when you think of who, the people behind it, some you know, some you don't. What I will tell you is the ones that I do know, I look back at those things and say, yo, there's way more downside to people knowing who you are. Like you said, Pharrell can't tank Louis Vuitton, but I don't think anybody can tank Louis Vuitton because I don't know shit about Louis Vuitton personally. I don't know the Louis Vuitton family.
But
I don't know
no,
anything.
Bernard Arnault and his family are always in the news, Nick. And again, that's one of those things where somebody may not know them, not necessarily because they're not in fashion, because this is a French family, but no, this guy. And then again, Nick, he's almost 90. This guy was hated because he was building a monopoly. He purchased all of the actual assets. And when he got Christian
He's
Dior, they were
still
just like,
hated.
yo, they were like, yo, this enough is enough. But again, me at 39, I just turned 39 5 days ago. Just 30 years ago, I was 9. And he's like almost 90. So he was 60. I would have had no idea all of the crap that he was actually going through. But I still understand your point that Pharrell is probably more known than Bernard Arnault and his family is, but their family is pretty strong and known, and they're always in the news about being a super, always giving it. For example, his sons and his grandsons, yeah, succession planning. They all run the company, and people are always upset about that. Like, hey, you're exercising nepotism. That's the term I was looking for. So again, it's one of those tricky things, man, because dude is very, very known, or not, and for it's not necessarily only fashion, if you will. I just think that a lot of them are just getting old. They're at the end of the road, like even like Warren Buffett, for that matter. Warren went through a lot of stuff. They think about how old they are. I can say Warren went through a lot of stuff 60 years ago. 60 years ago, Warren was 33. He's 90. He's like, no, actually, he's 90. He's 98. He was 38 60 years ago. That's crazy, Nick. He was my age today, 60 years ago. So
Yeah,
it's one of those things where they whatever came out against them, it's gone. And think about it this way: 60 years from now, a person probably not going to be upset with me or remember that I cursed someone out at 39. Yeah. So
And you
it'll be
gotta
easy
think
to.
who's over the brands, like who's endorsing the brands. Like those are the people that get in trouble. Like if that Sweeney girl gets in trouble, if she does anything, that the Jean brand is going down. And just like Balenciaga, when they had those scandals about like children pornography and stuff like that, they didn't blame Balenciaga. They blamed Kim. Kim, how could you be the face of Balenciaga? You have kids. Why would you let Balenciaga do this, that, and the third? And it's like, she's not actually the person in the rooms like making the decisions. So that's where I think they like clothing brands can get away with it because they're in the celebrity endorsers, and all they gotta do is just pick a new person.
Well, there it is. I know we got some people up on stage, and I definitely want to get into them. So, Gary, let's go ahead and start, kind of doing the thing. And I also want to throw this out there: is that like, and just to even bring it more so home, because like I said, what was prompted was all this was prompted by Fawn and the Uncle Nearest situation, and what I'm
Oh, I see
seeing,
y'all talking about it then.
and the same thing with Pinky. Like I said, I keep bringing up Pinky's name because I watched Pinky do this maybe for the past 3 to 6 months. Is that it doesn't feel like people are critiquing Slutty Vegan, the burgers, right? They're not critiquing the restaurants. They're not
Right.
critiquing the product. They're not critiquing Uncle Nearest and saying Uncle Nearest sucks. I don't like drinking Uncle Nearest. They're saying Pinky is a problem. Fawn is a problem. She
Right.
is the issue. So that's kind of more so what I'm talking, speaking to, because in the beginning when things were going smooth, both Fawn and Pinky were kind of heralded as, look at these intelligent, smart black women who are having success and having their way and excellent, both of them excellent at marketing, and and maybe to a fault, marketing themselves in the, as the faces of their businesses. So that's kind of where I want to center the conversation as well. But Gary, go for it.
Yo, Mike, Ernest, good morning. Welcome to the stage.
What's up, man?
Tell us
What's up?
like
I
that.
wanted to touch on just two things. The thing with Fawn Weaver, they were really saying that was their CFO's fault. I'm a little bit in the liquor business. I work with two liquor companies right now, and we were talking about that $108 million lawsuit against them. And even recently, they were given a gag order that they can't even talk about the case anymore publicly. And they were basically like I think the court is taking over the business, the day to day, right? So Fawn is like no more involved in that, as per like just a couple of days ago, actually. But they did an amazing job. It's just sometimes it's who you appoint. I would say this to any business owner, and this holds true no matter your level of success, no matter your level of failure. But 90% of your work is done in who you choose to be a part of your company, right? So we'll never really know the truth. Is it this guy, Mike, whoever that guy is, the CFO, that they blamed for all the bad books and the just misuse of the credit, or was it her? You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, anything happens, who does it really fall on? Falls on the boss. You are in charge. You are responsible. So I think that there's a level of responsibility that you have to take ownership in anything that happens, and who you hire, who you appoint. You can point the blame at whoever you want. Secondly, I was in the fashion world a long time, and the reverse happened with this guy I know, with Fubu. Um, Damon used Fubu to springboard himself to fame. The others didn't. I'm very good friends with Jay Alexander, Keith Perrin, those guys, the other owners, and them not so much. I mean, Keith is doing radio right now. He's trying to do Fubu radio. Jay is trying to do Fubu TV, right? That's not going as well as what Damon is doing.
Right.
Now Damon the Shark, and he takes full credit for all of Fubu, but he didn't do that alone. You see what I'm saying? He just kind of takes full credit for it. He used Fubu to springboard himself, catapult himself to that fame, and then he talks more about himself and what he has going on in his master classes than he does the brand Fubu.
Well, yeah, I appreciate it. Oh, tell us where you calling from one more time.
I'm from Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Blessings.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you for your insight. Yeah, like that Damon John is definitely a good example. Thank you for that, Mike. I think the one reason why he's able to continue to be financially successful is because he did do a good job of personally branding himself. And I do remember when the Fubu brand did first launch, I do remember there were multiple members. You know what I'm saying? But of course, not everybody is a self promoter in that way. And I don't think it's wrong to be a self promoter. But the thing is, if you're not a self promoter, then you might end up struggling with regards to what's happening personally in between you and your brand and your finances, years down the road in some cases. Queen Mo, welcome back to the stage.
Thank you. My thoughts today, this is a good topic because I started my company, I Am My Sister's Keeper LLC, and branched it off into self-promoting, letting people know about the mental health space and using myself as a successful example of how you could be mentally diagnosed and still be successful. And then to self-promoting to YouTube, which is my YouTube channel, is Monica Love TV, which is my government name. So promoting that. So it is a slippery slope, but again, you know what I'm saying? It's not so slippery when it's something that you believe in, it's something that you value, and it's something you really care about. And I went that route because I wanted myself as an example for others in that way, that whatever your situation and circumstances is, that you can succeed. And sometimes when you appoint others, they don't see the vision, and you can bring the vision out better if you articulate it by self-promotion. So, for me, being the face of my brand is more about getting the message out versus profit, which profit is going to come once you get to know who I am and what my brand represents. So that's my thoughts on that.
Great. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that, Queen Mo. Melvin, welcome to the stage. Tell us where you're calling from, and what would you like to add to the conversation? Melvin, good morning.
Melvin on mute. I mean, I know how to
Unmute yourself, Melvin.
unmute.
That mute button.
There you go.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. I'm calling from Tennessee. My phone actually got like frozen a little bit. But
Welcome.
pretty much how I'm kind of gonna chime in is, when it comes to, you know, us black people and these companies, how you were saying earlier, Louis Vuitton always been Louis Vuitton. Pharrell can't make or break Louis Vuitton. He can add some value, but if Louis Vuitton say, all right, we don't need you no more, it's still going to be a large demographic that's still going to shop Louis Vuitton versus a company like an Adidas. Adidas has always been a brand, but not too many of us was really buying Adidas until Run DMC put on the Shell Toes and until Kanye partnered up with them. Then once the partnership ended with Kanye, we seen that the brand had declined. And I think it was you, Nick, who was speaking about Rockefeller earlier. And we see where Jay is as a as a businessman, one who owns several brands, to see where he catapulted his wealth to be. And we
Right.
now see where Dame is at. And
Yeah.
I grew up on the Rockefeller era. Like that's my favorite era of all time. I see where they were going. How they took how they were kind of like vertically integrating before it was a thing. Where they start off with the music and they transition from the music to the fashion, from the fashion to the film and to the wine and spirits, and to the restaurant space and
Right.
sports and all these other different things that wasn't done before ever in
Right.
our culture. And I feel like once Jay and Dame has split, I feel like where Dame messed up at is that he was pushing the Jay-Z narrative, or what Jay didn't do, or how Jay crossed him, instead of, you know, taking that for what it is and building what he was building, because to me, he's like a genius when it comes to like marketing and promotions. But he could have built whatever he could have built if his main focus wasn't Jay. You
Right.
get what I'm saying?
I'm
Right.
with you. I'm-
Yeah.
And because even like the things that he's doing now, they're all great products. But what we've been hearing for like the last 20 years is how Jay did him wrong, or how Jay wasn't honorable, or it's just all been about Jay. And it's like, all right, we've
Yeah.
been hearing the same narrative for 20 years. Like what about today? What's going on today?
Well, yeah.
For sure. For
Well,
sure.
yeah. We can definitely get behind that especially Nick and I as well, like, and Duran is, I'm sure a few of us as well, like, with regards to that Rockefeller era. Only problem is Dame damaged his personal brand. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the public eye, he publicly damaged his personal brand by just being too bossy and too, he was labeled as a bully. And that's another way, you know, that being the face of your personal brand can also hurt you, because, you know, once people decided that they did not want to deal with him, like, oh, we don't have to deal with you to deal with Jay-Z anymore. Great.
Exactly.
And
So, well,
let it be known that I know this is a bit of a difference in the room. I'll make it quick. You can't have 100 million. And you know what we do in the black community? We base money on how much we got left. So we'll say, sure, I got 50 million, you spend 10, but like still got 40 though. Like, no, that's not how you budget.
right.
That's not how you manage your money. If I spent 5 million, I'll still have 35 million. Dame blew $100 million. That had nothing to do with Sean Carter. Independent of what Sean may have done wrong. So yeah, I think at this juncture, after 20 years, my daughter wasn't born when they were making this argument about Jay-Z being responsible for Dame. She's still all the way 20 years old with a whole house and a car. They gotta go ahead and let this one go, Nick and Gary. This Dame
That's
and
a
Jay-Z thing. Dude blew 100 M's. I'm going on mute.
that's a fact. But look, I want to throw this out there though. In 2025 and beyond, you know, with social media, with everything that we know, is it even possible? And well, I wouldn't say is it possible, because I think the answer is yes. But do we even remember how to build a brand without it being your personal brand? Do we know
Nick,
how to build
you
a
thinking
business?
exactly what I was about to say, bro.
I don't think that we know how to do that anymore. You know what? I'm a big Wire fan. Anybody who know me know I love The Wire. And one of my favorite kind of contrast is, you know, there's a famous scene when Marlo is in jail and Marlo says, "My name is my name." You know, saying let everybody know my name is my name. They out here playing with my name. It's about me. But then in season 2, when the Greeks get caught up, the Greek says, "My name is not even my name. I'm not even Greek." Like his whole thing was, I don't care if anybody knows. I don't need my name to ring out. All I need is for this product to move. The Greeks, and you know, by contrast, I guess we'll insert, you know, white people per se, because like I said, we'll use that by proxy. That it seems like there was a time where people were like, I don't care if y'all know my name or not. It's about building my brand. It's
You
about
just
building
said
my
brand though,
product. It's
Nick.
about,
It says business in the title. Business, you
well, I'm
can build
sorry.
a
I'm
business
built.
without people
You
knowing
know
you.
it. Thank you, Duran. It's about
Okay.
building my business. It's about building my business. It's about selling my product. It's about revenue, sales, the whole nine. And I don't care if my name is quote unquote my name. But it seems like this ain't even a by proxy for black people. This might just be by proxy for young people or younger people. The name is just as important, if not more important, than the product nowadays. So do we know how to build a brand? Or I'm sorry, again, thank you, Duran. Do we know how to build a business, build a product, generate sales, increase revenue without attaching
Yeah, Nick, let me
the
tap on that.
go for it?
I appreciate it, bro. Yeah, listen, this is what I came up to talk about. So specifically my business or my company or my brand, whatever you want to call it. So my situation is kind of inverted from what you guys have been discussing this morning, because my brand actually thrives without name recognition. So my business is I'll Go. It's a booking engine for event experiences. Affiliates, meeting planners, event planners come on our platform. They book various different venues, service providers for events. They earn a revenue share from that booking. When I'm having a conversation with potential venues, I told you guys a couple weeks ago that I onboarded UBS. Literally today at 11 a.m., I have a meeting with 11:30 a.m. I have a meeting with Prudential Center in New Jersey. It is a net negative for me when I'm speaking to these guys to introduce myself as the founder and CEO, because the perceived value of the founder introducing himself to a company like Prudential actually discredits the product because of our launch phase and where we are. And I think from my perspective, and I've had a lot of experience with this, when I introduce myself as the founder and CEO of the company, it's just more difficult to attract higher value clients than when I disassociate my name and my ownership from the brand or the business itself. And then it's a legitimate business. Be that as it may,
Yes.
for whatever reason that may be, I've realized that even when I'm interacting with clients and customers, I don't introduce myself as the owner, because the business in my scenario is the business idea, the concept, and the way it's operating is a lot bigger than me. And when people see me or they know me or associate me with the business, it shrinks it a little bit. And so to speak to your point specifically about building a brand, or do we even know how to build a brand or business in 2025 without associating a personal name to it? I've been effectively able to do that by disassociating it from myself, by not introducing, even in my email signature, in my email signature. Well, I have one email where I am the founder when I'm sending it out to investors, but my other email, it does not mention my position with the company. It just literally says I'll go, right? And so I wonder if that's something that people can kind of look at from the idea of, if your name is as big or bigger than the brand you're building, then I think it makes sense to create that connective tissue between who you are as a personal brand and connecting that with your business. But if you're building a business that's far more scalable and bigger in its current iteration than your personal brand, then it probably makes sense not to throw yourself out there, at least when it comes to your business prospects, as the face of the business, because that creates a liability, especially if you're not somebody that they're familiar with.
Let me real quick, TC, before you go. Is it ever beneficial for you for those two to not be mutually exclusive, for yourself and your business to not be mutually exclusive? Is it ever beneficial for you in, say, a social setting where, whatever, like, when is it beneficial for you to break that wall down or remove that partition, if ever?
Yes, that's a great question, Gary. So that's beneficial when I'm trying to recruit early adopters to our public beta product, where I'm trying to create other business owners to promote the IOGO brand. And so now I have to demonstrate that I've got some skin in the game. I've been able to do it. And a good example of this, Gary, is that we've launched a public beta testing where we're recruiting event professionals to come and sell services and sell venues on our product, on our platform, to their clients. And what's crazy, after that meeting, everybody, like, we had like 20 or 30 people in the meeting. We've gotten so much feedback. Was like, TC, wow, I didn't know that's your story. I didn't know that's how you built IOGO. Like, we did $2.5 million in the last 2 years. And they're like, bro, listening to your story and how you did it creates so much validation for why I should be doing it as well. And that's the only time I can honestly say, Gary, where attaching my name to my company or my brand has actually benefited me.
Is that where leaning into your personal brand starts, though? Is that the origin point?
100%, bro. I'm having to get a podcast started. I've already told some people about this in the room. I've gotten cameras and mics and stuff like that. So I'm starting to create that connective tissue. But when we go into these high-level meetings, like I got a meeting with Prudential Center at 11:30 today, I'm not introducing myself as a CEO and founder, right? They know me as the sales guy. I'm selling IOGO and what that can do in terms of bringing them talent and bookings for their venue. And we're just going to leave it at that, and we'll see where it goes. Hopefully next week, by next Monday's call, I'll be able to announce for you guys we've onboarded Prudential Center. But yeah, bro, that's the extent of it, and we'll see what happens.
Yes, we will. So I guess this one
So
have to circle back and see if, like, if he's on the InvestFest phase next year, will we be discussing who you're dating or what you're having for lunch or why were you on a yacht? Like, you know what I'm saying? So that'll be interesting.
100%, bro.
So, all right, one, I think Nick ought to do a brand room, and we can talk about that, because brand is a bit different than business. Because business is, because the brand, that's a totally different beast and totally different animal. But yes, 100%, as far as businesses not being connected, because you could just acquire companies and not have anything to do with the operation. You can Berkshire Hathaway yourself out of it. But again, I don't want people to get delusional about, if something becomes big enough, America will not allow someone not to be on the face of it. Just think about this for a second. Will still not become bigger than Steve Jobs. And it would never become bigger than Steve Jobs. Even today, they have a thing inside of Apple. What would Steve do? Like, it's literally become a thing. What was Steve? Steve's been dead since 2011. Like, Tim Cook's not Steve Jobs. Even when something goes wrong, or Steve wouldn't have done that. So, and then we think about Microsoft, Bill Gates. Satya Nadella is an incredible CEO. He's been there 25 years. So they basically said he's almost like a founder, but it's still Bill Gates. That's an American thing more than anything. America is going to ascribe a person and a personality to a thing. I Have a Dream speech that has become an icon. Who did the speech? Martin Luther King.
We
I
do.
think we got to remember some of these people that we talk about. It's been like 100 years for some of these people. Literally, I just think in my assessment, that's an American thing in terms of
I agree.
fame
I agree.
and brand. But in terms of business, yeah, you could just, we heard that before. You can acquire some companies, never put your face on it. People never know you own it. In fact, I'll give a quick story. My wife owns a company called Ailes Beverly Hills. I own a company called TBHE. And Nick Ben and I were selling. Actually, it's Maya, Nick, and I in this picture here. Beverly Hills, they don't even know we own it. They had to look through the documents. We're giving people loans and everything because it's not in our name. It's the Beverly Hills Enterprise. It's the name of the company. I own 100% of it, TBHE. But you go around Beverly Hills and you look on, like, who gave this person a loan? Like, oh, it's TBHE, 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 Ailes Beverly Hills, Ailes Beverly Hills. But if they do their homework, even though my wife's, Ailes is her middle name. So yeah, that could happen in terms of business, but in terms of a brand, it's a totally different thing. And one thing I'll leave on, I don't think we touched on, Gary, Nick, is we're just in a different time frame now in America. People want to see brands. They want people to be brands. People have become brands now. And you can blame that on Casanata and all of them. So people want someone to be the brand, whether they like it or not. Whether you choose to do that, it's a totally different dynamic. I'm going on mute.
Yeah, I agree. We have been bred. Sorry, Danny, we're gonna have to keep it pretty.
No. Yeah. Get Danny up
You
here. I
want
want to make sure
here.
she speak.
Welcome to.
We got like 3 minutes.
Blessings. I'm always pretty short. Thank you guys for the space. Good morning. Happy Monday. After hearing TC, also Danny from Seattle or Tacoma, after hearing TC, my opinions and thoughts have shifted a little bit. So I would say I think my short answer would be it depends on who the stakeholders are. I guess he was trying to appease people who would invest in the business. So it's not necessarily him leading with his personal brand. So in that case, I do think that there are some brands at this point who are grandfathered in, right? So I know, Nick, you were talking a lot about people in the fashion industry. Duran pulled out some people who are already in the tech space. They're pretty much grandfathered in. But the podcaster in me recognizes that we are in a storytelling era right now, to what Duran was just talking about. So people fall in love with the person before they fall in love with the platform, the product, or the brand. And even when you go to like the Shark Tanks, right? People don't care. The sharks don't necessarily care about all of the numbers. They want to hear the story, the backstory. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? What brought you to what you're doing now? So in that way, I think right now it's lead with your personal branding first, scale it out, and then you can do what Beyonce and Jay-Z have done, and you can kind of back up a little bit. So that's my thoughts.
I agree with you, Danny, and I think a deeper discussion, and like the reason I asked about 2025 and moving forward is because of that personal branding, and you mentioned the word storytelling. I agree with that because I don't know how many of y'all have seen The Wolf of Wall Street. There's a scene where Leonardo DiCaprio, he first gets to that little small what was it, invest group or whatever it was, a little small company that he turned around. But he gets on the phone, he makes up this bullshit story about like, yeah, our founders, they sailed over here on the Mayflower, they started this company in 1600. He made up some complete bullshit, but it was a company story. It wasn't about John Jones or Mike Miller or whatever. It was about this company who was founded back in the day, and that's why you should trust the company, because the company's been around for 300 years. Maybe even more to Duran's point. A lot of these people that we're talking about are the people that we revere or that don't necessarily have that personal attachment, that we don't have a personal attachment to, is because those stories are so old. Maybe when they did first start, they had to walk around, in the streets per se of that time period and be Nick. You know what I'm saying? Like that, at some point, Louis Vuitton was just Louis walking around the street, right? I guess at some point before it became this house of whatever it is, and y'all get my point, even if I'm saying the names wrong or mentioning the companies. But no, what was it? What was the name? Duran, Bernard Arnault. What is it? Arnault?
Bernard Arnault. Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point he was just Bernie, walking down Peachtree Street. He was Bernie, and then fast forward a few hundred years, now it's this brand that's everywhere. But I think that in 2025, I don't know that we can or are able to build things. Sure, like Duran said, and even TC said, yes, we could acquire businesses and just set up names and initials and set up things. Yes, we could, but I think there's a desire because of how we are at this point in society that you want to attach. My name got to go somewhere. My personal thing, my personal brand, my personal name, my personal story has to go somewhere in building these things because that's just the way we are conditioned at this point. So I don't know. I think, like I said, I think we mentioned a lot of pros and cons today about what that looks like. And then watching how these stories unfold, I'm curious to see how this goes because, like I said, I'm seeing people attack Fawn. They're not attacking, and yes, I know about the CFO and the story of kind of blaming the CFO for what it is, but the beat that the person who's catching the beat down is Fawn. To see what happened, she's so busy promoting herself and all here on doing all these goddamn podcasts. That's why the business suffering. Same Pinky caught that same shit. Puff caught that same. Everybody kind of catches these same. If you wasn't so busy on Instagram, if you wasn't so busy on TikTok, if you wasn't so busy trying to tell your story and go around and do all these interviews, you could have been focusing on the business. But because they did the interviews, because they did the podcast, because they did the thing, that's how the business kind of scaled in a lot of ways. So it's an interesting kind of push-pull on how we play this, right? That dynamic is really, really interesting. So it's 11 o'clock. I want to go ahead and wrap this room up. I appreciate everybody jumping on. Appreciate everybody who got in. Isaac, I hate that we didn't get to you because I really wanted to hear what you had to say to add to this. So maybe that's a conversation we'll have next week. We'll figure it out. But
Yeah, I want to call. My bad.
no, it's all G. Actually, not next week because next week is Labor Day. So Labor Day, take the day off, guys. Cook something on the grill, eat a hot dog, something. But yeah, next Monday we won't be here because of Labor Day. But I appreciate everybody who jumped on today. We do this call every single Monday except next Monday, from 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please tell a friend to tell a friend. And I appreciate y'all. Shouts out to my stage, shouts out to my audience, and I will catch y'all in 2 weeks. All right. Love and respect. Peace.
Peace out.
Yo, I need a
Later.
lemon emoji for my avatar. Word up.